So we've been a long time Micro Focus partner. We've participated in a lot of what people call lift and shift projects and upgrades, but we primarily focus on legacy language transformations. We've got automated tools to convert languages like IDMS, Datacom, EasyTreeve, a whole variety of old legacy mainframe technologies that we have automated processes to convert down to a Micro Focus platform, enterprise server, or visual COBOL. So it's really been our forte. Most people know of Marin County as the first stop when you go over the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's got a great view of the bridge and the city. So many people have visited San Francisco and gone over to Marin County to take a picture of the city and the Golden Gate Bridge. Or they might go to Muir Woods with the giant redwoods or these quaint little spots like South Salito. But most people don't know that Marin County is fifth in the nation for the highest average property valuation. And so the county of Marin approached us with their TAPIS system, which is their property tax system, and they wanted to modernize it. They wanted to strategize about what can we do to modernize TAPIS and put it more in a future-proof platform, something that'll give us a runway for 10 years or so, because they had a number of challenges with the existing environment as it was. TAPIS is very important to Marin County. It's probably the core of the assessment, collection, and apportionment of the property tax system, and it brings in $825 million in revenue or more a year. But they wanted to have TAPIS running where it would support faster innovations, keep their risk low, reduce their cost. Integration was really becoming an issue on the mainframe. And they were moving towards, on their x86 platform, a more common technology stack. It was interesting because most customers go through the same kind of mental exercise of what are our options, Do we want to look at a commercial off-the-shelf software? Do we want to rewrite it, rehost it, re-engineer it? But they talked about modernizing it. It was important to have lower cost. They wanted to remove their dependency on legacy data and the difficulty in integration. At the same time, they wanted a platform that they were familiar with. And so, we talked to them and we said, look, we've got some great solutions with the Micro Focus products. We can look at going to visual COBOL. The county currently was, pretty committed to Microsoft products. And so now they can have Visual Studio as an integrated development environment. We could migrate their data off an old legacy environment that didn't support ODBC drivers and easy integration to SQL Server. And so we were able to take them off Datacom and Ideal and basically move them down to Micro Focus Visual COBOL. In their old environment, the programmers had multiple technologies they had to know, and they weren't exactly feature rich. And part of their environment was COBOL, but they also had some other older legacy products. And so with the Visual COBOL platform, they had familiarity. Almost all the support staff already knew COBOL as one of their technologies that they were familiar with. And so using Visual Studio for their IDE, their integrated development environment, it was much more feature rich than any of the tools they were using on the mainframe. And it gave them a familiarity they had with their existing system. So they went right down to a platform that, led them to respond quicker. Counties and property tax systems, they're often given regulations and changes and things that have to go in. So they need to be able to respond quickly. And Visual Studio and Visual COBOL deployment, it gave them that agility. Most of the solutions they looked at, they really couldn't find any commercial off-the-shelf technology. So then they started talking to other counties about whether or not another county application would be better for them. And what they found was, from a feature and function perspective, the application they had was better than the ones that they'd looked at, but the the biggest challenge really was their platform and the issues I talked about earlier, and so uh, they didn't really want to re-engineer it as much as have the agility, integration, and be able to respond quicker. But one of the key components was we need to be on a platform that's, they kept talking about being future-proof. This needs to be a platform that'll give us at least a 10-year runway moving forward. Once the new environment was implemented, they had reduced their cost over 90%. It was actually a 91% cost reduction in the application. And so outside of all the technology benefits and the other, soft benefits of being able, it's hard to measure, being able to respond quicker and easier to integrate, how do we measure that? Well, they can certainly measure cost, and cost was 91% lower. So it was just a hit for everybody. If you look at the CIO, and where he had to consider strategy and cost, it was just a home run. He was concerned with risk and lower cost and a better platform for the future. So it checked every box off that they had on their evaluation on what do we want to do with TAPIS. We came off the mainframe to NetExpress, or what most people look at today as enterprise server. And that was, let's get off the mainframe and take advantage of the lower cost. And then the next phase of the modernization roadmap was to get to visual COBOL. They wanted to be running on a complete Microsoft stack, and they wanted to look at their risk more like turning a valve than flipping a switch. And so we did it in multiple phases, but the first phase was, of course, getting off the mainframe, and getting the data to SQL Server was big for them as well. Yeah, so the culture was great because most of the people that were involved already knew COBOL. So they weren't going to be forced to learn another language. They didn't really look at the options going to Java. They were a little hesitant there in the support staff because they didn't have that background. And so they did like the fact that they were going to COBOL. So that was one of the lessons learned was, you not only have to look at the risk for the technology and the migration, but the risk to the support staff. Are they going to be in an environment that they're familiar with? Most of the modernization projects, when you look at lessons learned, almost everybody's come back and talked about focusing on data. The mainframe and some of these legacy products, they don't support data typing. So a field could say date, but there's really not a date value in there. Or it could say it's numeric, but it really doesn't have a valid numeric value. So the data migration and the scrubbing was critical for a lesson learned. And then a lot of the normal project lessons, to get the buy-in from the users and management and get the right expectations. We found out right away that changing their culture and putting them in an environment they're completely unfamiliar with was just not going to be good for the support staff. You can put in any tech stack you want, but if the support people aren't comfortable and aren't proficient, it's just not going to work for them. Going forward, they're looking at technologies that play into Visual Studio for the IDE, the Microsoft stack, and they're actively developing in COBOL and looking at the fact that if they do find a commercial off-the-shelf software package for another application need or another part of the county's portfolio, it can easily fit into the stack they have today and easily integrate because they're mostly on Microsoft products. So, every package out there will integrate with SQL Server and either GitHub or Team Foundation Server for source code management and all the tools they're familiar with. So everything moving forward is looking at the fact that we want to leverage this platform that we committed to when we first came off Tapas and the mainframe down to a micro-focus platform. At the end of that first project, they submitted that project for Tapas coming off the mainframe to the California County ISD Association, which is the CIOs of counties, and it actually won Project of the Year because it was so successful. So they got some good validation that what they're doing is right. They got some good recognition for their hard work and what they've done, and they let the people in the county know that they're doing all the right things.